The great American eclipse has come and gone, but that story is still eclipsing other news. We're coast to coast looking at something that hasn't happened in 100 years. Then more turmoil at the White House. Steve Bannon, he's out, but the question is, will he now make things more difficult for his old boss? Also, our top military analyst, Captain Mike Lyons, joins us to take a look at President Trump's big announcement about Afghanistan. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to RFL. I'm Richard French, and thank you so much for joining us this Monday evening. Now, before we get to politics, we're going to go around the country and also take a look at what everybody, frankly, is still talking about. I'm talking about the eclipse. That's the scene in Oregon, the first place to see the first transcontinental eclipse in nearly a century. The eclipse, it put a 70-mile swath of the country into darkness, and hundreds of thousands of people traveled to that very zone to check it out for themselves. We even had our own man on the ground, Father One meteorologist Joe Rayo. One of them, he also saw it all from 36,000 feet. He joins us live from Portland, Oregon. Joe, you had a front row seat of history.
Absolutely, Richard, and this was my 12th total eclipse. As you can probably notice, I'm wearing my lucky eclipse hat, which I've always worn at all of these eclipses, and it was a magnificent spectacle. I would wish that all of our viewers would have a chance to see. I know we had the partial eclipse in the tri-state metropolitan area, but for those who had a chance to see a total eclipse like yours truly, it was really something, especially from 40,000 feet in the air.
Absolutely amazing to see that. You know, I don't even know how to describe it. It was just so awe-inspiring, and as I was saying, the whole plane got quiet. It was like just such a cathartic thing that everybody was just so in tune and just concentrating.
We just saw this amazing spectacle. I mean, it's one of those things you prepare for, but you got to take it all in, and it's always better than you possibly could imagine. This is really spectacular, and just being able to see it from 40,000 feet means you have a horizon view. You can see the whole shadow, that 70-mile wide black hole going over the surface of the Earth at 4,000 miles an hour.
It was like nothing I've ever seen before. It seemed like a sci-fi movie where you're almost looking into a black hole. It just felt like you were looking into complete darkness with these wild, bright tentacles coming out of it. It was truly, truly amazing.
It was so much fun having Joe sitting in front of us, and to hear his reaction in the background as they're lost in a totality, and he's just like geeking out and screaming and just freaking out. It just like adds more of that adrenaline to you.
Interesting.
And the one thing that strikes me is the fact that millions of Americans got a chance to see this in one way, shape, or form, either a partial eclipse or, for those who are lucky to be in that 70-mile wide swath that you mentioned, a total solar eclipse. And I'm hoping that many of the young people who got a chance to see this, I'm talking about youngsters, elementary school kids, or even junior high school and high school kids, seeing this eclipse today may turn them on to science, may turn them on to astronomy, and hopefully make them hope to see another eclipse. And in case you're wondering when the next one is here in the United States, it's not too long down the road, 7 years from now. The date, mark it on your calendar, Monday, April the 8th, 2024. Back to you in the studio.
Hey, Joe, before I let you go, it was interesting because, and we'll show it too, for the better part of this afternoon, we were all over the region, albeit partial eclipses here. But I can't remember a time where people were so captivated by something. And someone said to me, with all the divisions that we've seen, particularly in the last couple of weeks, it took something above here for everyone to kind of be united, where you weren't talking politics, Republicans, Democrats, whatever else. I can imagine that was 20-fold where you were. It was about science, sky, nature. We don't really see that too often.
Yes, we don't really see that. And again, this was an event that I think brought America together today. No matter how old you were, no matter what party you follow, everybody stopped for a few moments during the mid and late afternoon hours today, looked skyward, and took a look at that view of the moon crossing in front of the sun, something that doesn't happen too often. And again, this was the first time in 99 years that we had the path of a total eclipse of the sun go from one end of the country to the other. And it was a wonderful, wonderful sight to behold from the plane. It was just absolutely electric. Everybody who was on that flight who had never seen one before, and I had told them in advance that this was something that you're always going to remember, a bucket list event. It certainly was that. And again, a lot of people after seeing today's spectacle can hardly wait for the next one to visit the United States. And again, that'll be 7 years from now in 2024.
And for folks who don't know, Joe has made it a big part of his career here, drawing attention to meteorology, obviously, as well as not just sciences, but what we saw here today. And a lot of the attention in no small part to my friend in Oregon right now. Joe, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you coming and talking to me about this event, and I'll meet you again in 7 years for the next one, Richard.
You got it. Now, speaking of the eclipse, it hit Oregon first, and it crossed over South Carolina last. In between, people across the country got to see a very rare event.
After 38 years, the wait is finally over.
There it is! Total eclipse of the sun. I couldn't be more excited.
It's amazing. I love it.
The moon's shadow raced across the U.S., leaving millions of Americans in the dark for a few brief moments of totality.
It's the second most beautiful thing I've seen in my life.
It's absolutely amazing. It's so dark out of here. It looks like a sunset over there. It's amazing.
Casting a shadow over the millions who flocked to Oregon, including our Marcy Gonzalez.
You can hear the excitement here in Lincoln City, Oregon, the first place in the country to witness this total eclipse.
Treating Kentucky dead center for totality to more than 2 full minutes of blackout.
This is the most incredible thing I've ever seen.
And finally, the last stop here in the U.S., Charleston, South Carolina.
Right now, you can see the sun just peeking around the moon. We are in a total solar eclipse.
Some taking advantage of this once-in-a-lifetime moment to say, I do.
It's fantastic.
It goes by so quick, but I mean, even with the rain, I couldn't be happier right now.
Soaking in the darkness from the skies. Nearly everyone who battled the traffic and crowds to make it to the path of totality says it's all been worth it.
It's a once-in-a-lifetime experience, and I'll never forget it.
Now, even though in our region we didn't get the total eclipse, the majority of the sun was in shadows, and people in our area, to put it politely, were very excited. Let's go to Rutgers first, where people flocked to the roof of the Astronomy and Physics building to check things out using a special telescope.
It's just really surreal. Waited like at least 20 to 30 minutes, to get up here. It's crazy.
Okay, this is an 8-inch telescope where we have a filter out here. It's looking at the sun. So we have a filter here to remove most of the light entering the telescope.
Long Islanders, they also got to experience prime eclipse viewing at the Cradle of Aviation Museum in Garden City. A Boy Scout troop from Baldwin area, they came to the viewing party, and Eagle Scout Kenneth Bradley helped set it up.
Thought that we should do something with the solar eclipse, so I looked this up and we decided to come here for the day.
Then we move over to Yonkers, where excited eclipse viewers, they watched from the Hudson River Museum.
Come to see the solar eclipse in a safe environment, the planetarium. And this was on my bucket list, so I'm fulfilling one of the things on my list.
Now, all day our viewers, they've been sending us their eclipse photos as well as video. So I encourage you, please go to FiOS1News.com and check them out for yourselves there. There's some pretty neat pics. All right, coming up next, we move over to politics. Steve Bannon, he has gone from the White House and he's back at Breitbart. And he's not going to go quietly into the good night, declaring war on his opponents. So the question is, does that include some of his former foes within the West Wing?